Hello and welcome to Book Talks, where we talk about books, dramas, and our bookish opinions. Today we'll be having an Audible rant. For more content from us, you can find us at LiteraryLiberation around the internet, and we are currently raising money for the Northern Gaza Water Fund. There's a link below if you're able to donate to that. I'm your co-host, Kristen. You can find me at 10CBR on all social media platforms.
And I'm your co-host, Mariah, and you can find me at Hungry Right on all social media platforms. And today we are going to be talking about all things Audible because it's a relatively hot topic. It picks up steam every couple of months where somebody will talk about some of the nefarious shit that happens with Amazon and the Audible, audiobook platform. And I thought, well, not just me, we thought it would be good to kind of just talk about the history, how much it costs, some alternatives, positives, negatives, all of that jazz, as we are very involved in bookish spaces. So you're getting our thoughts on it in the most nuanced fashion that you can.
And this is not going to be a discussion on whether or not audiobooks count as reading, because me and Mariah are of the opinion and the fact that listening to audiobooks is reading. So if you're looking for that discussion, that's somewhere else. That's not here.
Maybe in the future, I'm sure it'll come up again where we'll just have to end up filming something. But we're just talking about Audible because there's a lot. I think one of the bigger videos I had seen blow up recently was about Audible exclusives and libraries, which we will talk about more later. But that was one of the more recent things. And then also Audible using AI voice narration. So those are the two big controversies, I suppose, that has kind of garnered Audible some negative attention. I don't know if you've seen anything else, but those are the two main ones that I think of when I think of Audible.
No, but I have also seen, which we'll probably talk about this more later too, Libby promoting or having AI books now as well. Or
Yes.
AI audiobooks. Which that could probably be its own discussion, like AI audiobooks on its own. But I'm sure we'll end up dabbling
books in general. But I think I need to listen to one. I am going to pick one and I'm going to listen to it just to see how it fares. You know, I've unintentionally read a audio, or not an audiobook, an AI generated book that was on Kindle Unlimited. So I feel like I gotta even it out, you know?
I don't know if you gotta, but obviously, so Mariah and I are unfortunately both Audible subscribers as well, because if you've been on our channel at all, you know we reviewed all Dungeon Crawler Carl specifically. I listened to specifically, I tandem read more importantly, the Dungeon Crawler Carl audiobooks. I think, what's the Strength of the Few? Is that an Audible exclusive?
I don't know. I know it was really expensive. Yes.
So that's another thing. We've listened to a couple of the Audible exclusives, not specifically because they're Audible exclusives either, but because we were listening to the audiobook and then reviewing them on the podcast. So they have come up on our channel a handful of times. But I mostly consume my audiobooks through Libby typically, but unfortunately that's not an option for most. Not every book that I want to read is available on Libby because of the Audible exclusive dilemma.
Yes, and it's interesting. I was doing some light research on just the history of Audible today and seeing where exactly it came from. And originally it was just its own little device. It was a $200 player that held 2 hours worth of audio, and it was sold at audible.com. And that
$200 for that?
Yeah, which VCRs and shit used to be super expensive, you know? I remember how expensive an iPod. If you had an iPod, you were somebody. That's why MP3 players and Zunes and all of that jazz was popping up. But in 2008, Amazon acquired Audible for $300 million. And it's been interesting to see how much money this company, or this subsidiary, I guess, of Amazon, even though they're one and the same, but but it's the lesser I don't know how to explain it. Are you picking up what I'm laying down? Anyways, they yield 2024, $440 million per year. And we've had discussions about what Amazon did to the bookstore industry. So I feel like Audible being on the rise right now, and especially with like Libby, it's interesting that so many people are turning to libraries for audiobooks, and they were like, what if we just have Audible exclusives of
Then
these
you
big books that libraries can't get? So it's
mm-hmm.
kind of forcing, like, you can't even buy them from bookstores.
No, and I think that's what, well, because like there's this whole, not that I know this was past our time, especially for audiobooks, but like audiobooks, I know they're like a relatively new addition to like the bookish sphere. Like I think they probably mostly got popularized in like the 2000s anyways, because people used to do like books on tape with like the cassette players, and then you would have to like change out the cassette to listen to like a book. And so it's very interesting now how much more accessible, if you're listening, I'm using quotation marks, that like Audible is making audiobooks now. But is it really accessible if they're limiting it through a monetary value? And the answer is no. Because like there's major audiobooks, like I think what Audible should do if they were to continue this practice is maybe they could have like a more like advanced production for these audiobooks, and then just have like the standard run of the mill like regular one for like Libby. Because like Project Hail Mary, that is one of my favorite books of last year, and not everybody is able to physically read it. Not a lot of people don't physically read books sometimes. If that's what they want to do, that's their prerogative. But I also don't think that some people should be limited where they can't consume that story because it's under a paid subscription, and it's one that you have to choose to spend your credits on, rather than you get like, it's not even like a traditional streaming service like Netflix or Hulu or whatever have you, where they have like all of these things under their catalog that you can listen to unlimitedly. You have to pick one each month or pay
There
for it.
is some that are free on there that I've found, but usually they're like classics. So and if
Wow.
you're not listening to the class,
Classics are already free, like, like they're already in public domain, so you could
yeah.
find a
So
free
there is.
audiobook of that
Oh,
on YouTube.
I wish we would have. I don't know if we have the link. There is like this audiobook website where you can listen to classics, and they have like
Oh, I know what you're
even
talking
like
about.
communist theory is on
Yes,
there.
we'll have to research what the name of it
We'll
is.
find it. It'll be in the
The
description. We'll find
description.
it in the next like couple of days before this goes up. But there is like an alternative that's free and it has everything on it. I know before Audible, and I was like kind of on the fence on whether or not I wanted to pay for Audible. I was a YouTube audiobook consumer. Is there ads? Because obviously I'm not paying for YouTube. I don't use YouTube like that. No offense, Kristen, but
I mean, if
but
it's
you
my
know, like
main
free
source of
audiobooks.
entertainment.
There's
Yeah.
Capital. People have read off Capital. There's Black Shirts and Reds on there. Like there's so many really wonderful, like
Socialism for
leftist.
all, shout out.
Oh, I love Socialism for All. It's just wonderful places you can find audiobooks. However, when it comes to fiction books, I do think it's a lot harder to find. And you can definitely go to like a used bookstore and find the like
Books on
audiobooks.
tape.
They sell them on, yeah, like they're just CDs. Like you get a couple stacks of CDs.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of they're older books. One of the biggest things that I think is really interesting when we were looking at alternatives to Audible is that Libro FM, Libro.fm specifically, sorry. They work through your local bookshop. It's $14.99 a month for a credit. They have an advanced listener program. And then they also, you can own your books. And if you don't know anything with Amazon, in the last couple, I think it's at least in the last year, they
Mm-hmm.
made it so that you do not own your books, which I find
Yes.
so interesting. Like you buy
Because
a
it's the
book through
same
them.
way through Kindle as
Yeah, and
well.
you don't own the book because if
No.
you lose it, it's not
You
like,
own the right to rent it,
yeah.
basically.
Same with like their movies and all of that. So if your account gets banned for whatever reason, like you're gone. Like you don't
Yeah.
get to keep any of those games, which I think is incredibly
Games.
problematic. And sorry, I was thinking of like because people like on sorry, my partner
It's
is
also
very into
on
like video
Steam.
games.
Yes, Steam is the
Yeah.
same way. If you are a video game player, that Steam is also like whenever you buy a game through Steam. There is another site too. I don't know what the name of it is off the top of my head, but there is a website that you can like buy the game and you fully own it. versus on Steam, it's like you're basically again like you're buying the right to rent it. But then with these companies, they have like a monopoly on how people consume these different things, like whether or not it's books, video games, movies, TV shows. And so it's incredibly frustrating, I think,
Yeah, especially when
in
we
a
look
lot
at
of
some of the
ways.
prices. I believe it was Strength of the Few. It could have been a different book that we were reading
No, it
recently.
definitely
It was
was.
something new. But Strength of the Few, I think, was $40 for the audiobook.
Yeah,
And that was a lot. So if you didn't have the
if you didn't
premium,
have a credit.
or you didn't have a credit, which the credits are $15 a month,
Yeah.
you were paying $40 for one audiobook. And the hardback epidemic right now, they're already expensive as shit.
I
So it's
think the
like,
hardback itself is probably already $40. I don't know
yeah,
what
if you
mine
live
is.
somewhere with taxes, I don't have sales tax here, so I can only imagine like how expensive books are in other places.
Yeah, I mean, we have sales tax here. I'm pretty sure like I'm pretty sure the physical copy is $35 before taxes. I want to say, like the hardback, which and then of course with Audible, you don't get the audiobook with the purchase of the physical copy, which I wish like one of the main things that I wish like books came with, if you bought a physical copy, it gave you like a free e-copy with it at least. So you could just like
That's
get
why
the EPUB.
Verso is so fucking cool, is because when you
Yes.
buy, it comes with like an e-copy of the book,
Mhm.
like, which I think is such a cool thing, and I would love to see more like indie bookstores start doing with like the different books that they decide to publish. If you were looking for something that's similar to that, they do have some fiction, but yeah, because we usually end up having several copies of the books that we review
I mean, like I
if we
like to
really
have a
like
physical
it.
copy, but sometimes like for some reason too, it's just easier to read it on the Kindle or read it listening to it as well besides just reading the physical copy depending on the book, you know?
Yes. So, and like when we look at Audible, like one of the positives of it, right, is that there's a lot. Like you can find almost anything that you could
Any
possibly
book you can
need.
think of,
Whereas if you have Libby, depending on how many library cards you have, which you can buy library cards in other states, I think it's like $50 a year if you go somewhere
depending on
else,
the
which,
library, I think.
yeah, for some of the bigger ones, like you'd want to get it with a library that's a lot bigger, has a bigger catalog. So it's like a state sort of,
Mhm.
I don't know. We in Oregon, we have the Oregon Consortium. I don't fucking know what the word is. I'm sorry. But that we get a lot more books through that than versus like my local branch. So that's like
Mhm.
the one I go through.
I
However,
think
some of the other smaller
there's
ones, they don't have anything.
there are a couple free libraries too. I know like if you Google some, but I'm pretty sure like the Queer Liberation library, you can like Google that one and you can sign up for that one, or the Harris County Public Library, and I want to say the Broward County Library gives you a free library card for the month as well. So you can try all those. But again, with those, not necessarily like I know none of the libraries that I had, they don't have the audiobook for Why Women Have Better Sex Under Socialism, which was a book that I read last year. And I could not get through the physical book, so I wanted the audiobook to push myself through. And I had to use one of my credits on Audible, which I mean, $15 for a book isn't necessarily bad, but it's also like the way that it's run is like a subscription base, and I think those are inherently predatory in a lot of ways, because how many times do you sign up for one of these things to be like, oh, I'll just get it for the one free credit because I know what book I'm gonna get, and then you forget, and then that trial, like the trial continues going on for how long, you know?
Yeah, and I feel like as time goes on, we're going to have this divergence of people who are either going to people are going to get tired of paying $15 a month for
It's
X, Y, and
$15
Z when it comes to
now.
books, right? And if it goes up, people are either going to go the physical media route, which we're already seeing with like music. People are going back to the Goodwills. They're going to your local, like, I don't know, Salvation Army, what other mainstream, like,
Thrifting,
like thrift stores that you
secondhand
have.
store.
Um, you're gonna go and get that. So you're gonna go find your old books, but they're just older books that you're gonna find on there, or they're gonna go like the piracy route. And then there's going to be more ethical debates online, which are going to be really frustrating and likely full of like classism. But this is kind of the
Yes.
stage we're at in late stage capitalism under fascism. This is just what's happening. And I think it shouldn't be a moralizing issue, but I can see it happening because it's already happening.
Yes, it already does happen too. I mean, not saying anything specifically, but I do know like a lot of times you'll come across TikTok pages and stuff where people are like, I can't afford this book or whatever. Like, do you have an EPUB file? And people are like, I can't believe you would even ask me for that. That's so wrong of you. I paid for this book, blah, blah, blah. Where these people are saying that they paid for this book because they want to support the author, which I do think, yes, that is fair. You do want to support the author. But then also acting as if like whenever you buy something on Kindle or Audible is you buying and owning that thing. That's just subjectively not true, you know? Like if
We're
buying
stuck
isn't
between
owning, if
a
buying
rock and
isn't
a hard
owning,
place.
piracy isn't stealing, you know?
What is the alternative? If it's an Audible exclusive and you can only
Mhm.
get it through Audible, what is the alternative? There
Especially
is
if
no.
you
You can
don't
get it from the library, so it's like I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear it.
like
To be
I don't think you
honest,
should be announcing maybe if you pirated like something, you know? Like it doesn't have to be like, guys, look, I'm pirating this because then that could make it harder for other people that are using that as a way to consume that. It could, I mean, we just had the issue with Anna's Archive. They just um, got taken down by Spotify because they just, I don't want to say took because I just want to say I
honestly,
support Anna's Archive. This is a
I
really
don't know
sketchy
what
debate that we're at.
exactly.
Like, this is
Anna's art.
really,
We could talk about it, but they're still up. You just need to go on
yes.
Reddit. That's the whole thing. Keep the shady shit on Reddit or 4chan like a normal person. Like keep it in the deeper, harder to find things. Don't throw it on TikTok. Don't throw it on Instagram. Be smart. If you're gonna share those things,
Yes, which I
hypothetically
mean, like
speaking,
Anna's does say like share it, like they support like being because they know what they're doing is technically legal, you know, whether or not people want to admit it or not, because of what they are. They have like a whole thing about how whatever they're doing is legal on their website.
well,
Let
say
me,
like consider themselves like archivists, which the
yes,
Internet Archive is another place you can go, and if you make an account, you can get PDFs online of different books. Like I believe I found Inventing Reality by Michael Parenti, which is a very difficult book to come by. When I was originally looking for it through that because it's not on Kindle, it's not on Amazon.
mm-hmm.
It's you have to rely on somebody hopefully having scanned this in. The whole thing with like it like all snowballs together because Audible is just one part of a much larger issue. It all comes back to capitalism. It doesn't it get tiring? Doesn't it get exhausting?
They're open source, which is great.
They said that there's too many people on it to completely track down exactly who it is, but like you definitely could.
Well, because it looks like what they do is that they do have to originally purchase like the EPUB file through whether it's Kindle or Fable, I guess. I know they have some stuff on there.
You know what's
But
interesting though is like somebody that grew up like 90s to early 2000s is when it comes to like we could make a whole
the ethics
podcast
of
episode on
piracy.
piracy. Is that using LimeWire and whatnot was a very common thing, and it was not something that people. It was like a cool thing. It was like you would see those like you wouldn't steal a car, you wouldn't steal a
Yeah,
house,
I
like all
know.
of those like commercials on TV. But I remember like if you had a friend who had like a movie collection, that movie collection was being burnt, and like it was from some guy
And
that
me
like
and
took a camcorder into the movies to record
yes.
Zombieland, and that's how you were watching it because people couldn't afford to go to the movies during the recession.
Yes. And we're entering another recession.
Oh
But
my
also, Mariah
god.
and I do not support piracy. We do not pirate anything. We do not believe in doing that.
Legal disclaimer.
Legally, we don't do that. Okay? If anybody asks, I don't know what Anna's Archive is. Um, but also with Anna's Archive, you can't even get audiobooks on it. Not that I would know, but you can't. So we're
Hypothetically
gonna.
speaking, there may be another one. I couldn't tell you what the name of it was, but
There may be
I'm sure
something.
there's something for everyone. It's
Yeah.
like Rule
Which
34.
okay, that's not that. Um, but also besides Libro FM, you can use Libby. I know also not that Spotify is in any better company. but I know they do audiobooks now as well. I think you get like so many hours if you have like a premium subscription, which I know a lot of people do use Spotify. Not me. I mean, if you're listening to this on Spotify, thanks for listening, but I don't use Spotify. But if you're listening to this on Spotify, more than likely you have a Spotify membership, and that way you can also get audiobooks. But again, it will not be any Audible exclusives. I think we should bring this back to Audible because that's what this is about.
It's hard. It's hard to like keep it limited to just Audible and like the ethics surrounding
Mm-hmm.
Audible when it's just
Well,
so
because
encompassing. And I think with like Amazon, I remember when I was reading in Feeding the Machine, the AI book that I
mm-hmm.
reference frequently, they were talking about how like Amazon uses AI to like lay off workers, and like with them introducing like the AI narration and whatnot, it's just like another extension of that. Like they're trying to cut corners to increase profitability in any way, shape, or form that they can because of late stage capitalism, because of monopoly capitalism. Like that's just like the way, the cookie crumbles.
Yeah.
And I just hate seeing these like thought pieces that are coming up online of people being like, actually, you can't do X, Y, and Z because that makes you a bad person. It's just like you're limiting it to like an individual's experience without taking like I step back and looking at the bigger picture of like what's going on. It's a little bit more nuanced. There's a lot going on in the material conditions, and we can't just treat things like they're black and white. And I'm sorry. And I'm saying this as an autistic person who has black and white thinking. It's very difficult to, reel it back, not to universalize our experiences, but sometimes we have to do hard things.
Yeah.
And I believe in everyone that they have the capacity to do that.
I just think it's interesting too that people are automatically able to blame the consumer on how ethically they're consuming a certain product, whatever it may be, rather than like the situation that Amazon is putting people in to where their only options are that, or because these people act like they're paying like the audiobook narrator and the author, like if they're going to be paying them so much money for having this book on there. No, they're not. Like we already know compared to what like Jeff Bezos makes, he's paying his workers pennies compared to what he makes, right? And then comparing that to what these other authors and like audiobook narrators and stuff, they are also being exploited by Amazon as well. And I don't know if this is true necessarily, but I'm sure a lot of people, whenever before like audiobooks are so normalized now, especially with Audible now, I think a lot of people are learning where people may have originally signed up to have like an Audible exclusive or like a Kindle exclusive book, like anything on KU can't be on the library either, where if you're an indie author and you don't have any other way to promote your book or make sure that people are reading your book, and you get this offer from Amazon that's like, hey, we'll promote your book, we'll do this if you sign this exclusive deal with us, then if you're a struggling author who already is not able to make ends meet or even is barely making ends meet, you're going to take that offer because that's what you're looking forward to do, you know?
I do remember hearing some of like the authors that I follow that get started on Kindle Unlimited. Is that they get paid per the pages that you read too. So it's not like
Yes.
you have to wait for somebody to buy your whole book. If somebody only reads 50 pages, you're still getting paid a certain amount per page. To my knowledge, you can correct me if
Yes.
I'm wrong on that, but I do remember
I
people
believe that's
talking
right.
about that. With it's very different from the way books have run historically. So it's interesting to see how it's like
If
it's
I was
almost
an
like
author, I'd
a
just like click through the Kindle on my own book every day, watching
get a
TV.
bot
Just
to click through the
yeah.
pages.
I mean, authors hit me up for your ideas. um, but yeah, I do think you're correct with it being by page count, which I'm not sure. I don't know if there's a lot of information on how like audiobook narrators are getting paid and who they're doing it through and like what that is, because I guess it is technically like a voice acting job, maybe.
I don't know. I think they get paid by the amount of hours that
It
they
probably
do.
depends
That's why
on.
some of them read really slow,
Do you think
is
that's
because they're
true
getting
for
paid by the
Audible though?
hour. I don't know.
I don't know either.
I didn't look at all the wages to see we're slacking on this one. I didn't think about that before we came on here.
Well, that's why it's a discussion, and we discuss this, and we come up with new things to learn. I think this is not. That's the thing with this podcast. We're not scripted. We go off the rails. We say whatever we want.
Sometimes we go off the rails. It looks like, according to the AI overview, hold on, let me try to click the original source. But they get paid royalties. Earn up to
Okay.
40% in royalties plus $50 bonus pay every for each new
50
audio or Audible member who buys your audiobook first. I don't know if that's just for the author or for
for
I
the
don't know.
narrator. Audiobook narrator, sound off in the comments. Let us know how your stuff works.
Yeah, I would be very curious. Jeff Hayes, hello, hi.
I know you're listening, Jeff.
I know you're listening.
Well, I
Um,
know Jeff does it differently though, because Tyler watched an interview where he does. I know he does his stuff, his productions, based off of royalties already himself. Because then he says that makes him more interested in the business venture versus being paid hourly like other people. And then also he it's more of like his own production where he's working on it himself rather than just being exploited probably. I mean, he's read Dungeon Crawler Carl, so
You
he
know what I can
understands.
see in the future is that I think more authors and audiobook narrators are going to work together in a more like indie style where maybe they'll form like little guilds and they'll like work with each other to get around this. And then people who are big fans of them, I imagine it's going to be bigger authors, are going to just sell things on their website. I know Petra Palerno sells her audiobooks or her books on a website.
That's
Like you
not
just buy them
Amazon.
directly through her, which yeah. So I have bought stuff like that. I think Urza Docs and Ruby have done similar things in the past. From what
But
I
I
remember, like there's ways to get around it, but also with that comes a lot more work. So I'd like to see people come together to like collectives of authors and just
mm-hmm.
find a way outside of it. And I think that would be so cool. It's not a perfect solution, right? It's not going to alleviate all of the conditions, but it might be a way just to save some sort of integrity for the art.
That's also too because I mean I don't know. It's an incredibly like frustrating scenario for everyone because I imagine the authors are not getting paid their full value of their labor. The narrators are not getting paid the full value of their labor. And the thing is, the reason why people buy like the books that they want to read directly from like a store or from like the author is because they want to support the people that put the work in for it, not because they want to give money to like no offense, but like a publisher or like like all of these different corporate overlords that are controlling and that inevitably make the most money off of these ventures as well, you know?
Yeah, and like I get it. There's definitely like a certain amount of work that goes into it, having these like really nice editors that can go through it, marketing people who can get your book out so people can hear it. But honestly, more often than not, a lot of readers in reader spaces are hearing about books from word of mouth and from
Through
people
other
on
influencers, where I
yeah, so
think
it's like that's like the
influencers are more
better
the
way.
I
It's
think
just
so
like
too.
send books to people and have them talk about it and read it and give your general or genuine thoughts on it. I think with the advanced listener program that is happening through Libro FM, I think that is a fantastic way of getting around it. Um, I really like that. I've listened, or I'm in the process of listening to another one. I listened to one already. Jeanette McCurdy's book was one of them, and I think that's such a cool thing. And I don't know exactly who it's going to be through, but
Who's
I don't think
publishing
it's
it?
not I don't think it's an Audible exclusive. I don't know if they do
It
Audible
shouldn't
exclusive.
be if it's on Libro. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I can look, I guess, real quick. But well, that's the thing though, because like I wish everybody and their mothers could listen to Gender Color Carl, and I just know if those were on Libby, the wait for those would be a billion bajillion years because they're that good, you know. And that's one thing too, where even if like libraries are able to only have limited copies, then that would incentivize people to go actually buy the Audible or like the not the Audible copies, but the audiobook copies to listen to, because they're like,
Which
I don't want to
even then,
wait.
I think the idea of having like, oh, you can only use this book X amount of times is like interesting. Because if you were to go into the library and get the
Such,
audiobook as
wait,
like the
what?
CDs, because like there's only like they sell an
Oh,
audiobook
yes,
for only a certain amount of listens through your library.
yes.
Like it costs a
And
lot
the
of
same
money.
thing for an
And
e copy. I think, too. Like, you can only,
So
like,
it's
loan it
so
out 100
interesting.
times or something.
But if you were to go to the library and go and use one of their e-readers, you could read it on there as many times as you could loan it out. I think. Because, like, why not? Like, they own it. They bought it. It's the library's property at that point.
But I don't think so because, like, if it's through, like, Kindle.
Yeah, if it was, like, through, like, a Kindle Unlimited, but if somebody, like, bought the book through, like, a different website, like a Verso or something, and it's on the Kindle, like, you own that. You can just do whatever you want
Oh,
with
like,
it at that
owning the
point.
EPUB or whatever,
Yeah, like, you own
personally.
the file. See, this is the whole thing, is, like, with owning things online, which that can I don't want to get too far into that, but these are just my thoughts as
Yeah,
we've been going through this. Chris and I think about this a lot, so that's why you're getting a whole like half hour kind of
rant.
rant. Yeah, it
That
is
was the goal.
precisely that. It's a rant. It's a go. That's what we're trying to do is just bitch about things online and
I just
get
also think
paid. I'm just
Audible
kidding.
is too expensive. $15 a month is crazy. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And for one book, like, the thing is that, like, the way that I think about Audible is, like, yeah, it's not Netflix, but I want to compare it to Netflix because that's the way that it functions, essentially, right? But at least on Netflix, not that I'm promoting Netflix, I also hate Netflix, you know, I hate all of these subscription-based services, but at least, like, imagine if you go on Netflix and then it was like, okay, you can only pick one TV show to watch for the month. Like, that is absolutely ridiculous, is it not?
It's weird. I don't get it.
And you could say, like, oh, there's free stuff on Audible exclusive, whatever. It's bullshit. That's what's on there for free. You're not getting, like, The Strength of the Few. You're not getting Project Hail Mary. You're not getting Dungeon Crawler, these Audible exclusives. Those should be the ones that you can just listen to nonstop, you know?
Especially since a lot of these things, if it comes to like, we're off the rails, like when different holidays and stuff come up, you know, like they pull all of like the holiday shit on there and then it'll go straight to like you have to buy it on Amazon.
Yeah.
I don't know where else people buy movies. Is it Fandango a place where people buy movies like
You
outside
can buy
of
them on
Amazon?
YouTube.
Oh yeah, so we got fucking YouTube and Amazon. Holy shit.
To buy digital movies. Yeah, I mean, and that's again, I think, well, because there's been so many news articles. I mean, we've already talked about it a little bit. People going back to physical media, not only for books, which I mean, like, you see that, but then you see people going crazy for physical media for movies and TV shows, buying physical copies of those besides just music, which to me, I don't know. I just feel like it's very interesting that, like, we're going back to this, but then we can discuss how, like, there's all these people, like, buffing up their physical media collection with buying physical media of movies and TV shows and music, but that's not overconsumption. But then the second they see a woman with 3 bookshelves full of books, then that's overconsumption. That irks my nerves. That really does.
Maybe that could be its own thing. Is that can you overconsume books? That could be its own. Maybe we'll talk about that. It comes up. It's been coming up a lot recently. Hyperconsumerism in reading.
Yeah.
Reading,
Maybe,
the new
if you guys
addiction.
want to hear that. But I guess that's everything we really have to say about Audible, right? You don't have anything else you want to say?
That was about it, I think. This is a pretty short one. We're just trying to get posts up every week and we're coming up with different things, so we're always on the hunt for different ideas.
Topics, you
That's
can put them down below.
Make sure you subscribe and then comment what you want us to
and
talk
like
about.
The video.
And like the video. Look at that. That was smooth. That was nice. And then in our next episode, it's going to be a review about A Short Stay in Hell by Stephen Peck, which is our book club read of the month. If you would like to join our book club over on Fable, we will be putting up polls here soon for February. And since February is Black History Month, it's going to be a Black author. So if there's some popular Black authors you've been wanting to read, maybe let us know and we'll throw it in the poll. Usually we pick like 5 books, have people pick between them. I think right now Chris and I are going to throw at least insider knowledge, James Percival, right? Either
No,
Trees or
oh, well, I guess Percival Everett, yes.
Percival Everett, James
Trees.
and then Trees, and then there's another book I thought was interesting.
Toni Morrison.
I think we're gonna throw on there, and then I don't know. There's gonna be a couple
We need
more, I
to
think.
get some. Make sure. I think we need some contemporary stuff on there too.
But
Which
yeah, I think,
we'll
and
see.
there's also a new book which I think I'm gonna throw on there that I was
New.
listening to
Oh
on here.
yeah,
It's Burn Down Master's House, which I think is going to be it's going to be like a big book. I can see it happening, like P. Jelly Clark's
ring
Ring
shout.
Shout type.
That'd be cool. But I guess other than that, I think that's it. So thank you for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, just like we said. And other than that, thank you and good night.